All right, traders, as promised, I'm going to start recapping some of the great calls from the group each week. I'm going to try to do them on Saturday morning. So let's get started. And this would be TBLT on Monday. See this big rip here? How was it called in chat? What was the idea? Um, Kevin P, no surprise, right? Called this through three. But let's look at that day and see if we can figure out how and why. All right. Okay, so this is how it opened. It gapped up on earnings, I believe, right? And then had a run. But if you look how choppy and wicky it was, again, 5-minute candles, no clean setup really, but it hits three. Now we're looking at a possible whole number inflection point. And if you're just watching our videos for the first time, we have a free webinars. There's a link below in the video description to our free webinars, and two of them are about whole number inflection points. So this hits three, and I think Kevin, I'm paraphrasing, he said something like, now that it's hit three, if it can go sideways for like 10 minutes, I like it because you have the whole number inflection point and you have a chart catalyst to the left, and I'll show you that in just a bit. But so that was the idea. Back our through three. There's the break. Stop is like a dime at most, right down here at 290, and it ends up going all the way to I think it hit four. Let me double check here. Hit 389. That's not even right. I had to update that. It actually hit four that day. I just never corrected it on the sheet. And here's the daily just to show you. This was the next catalyst, the high from October 6th that Kevin was talking about. So keep in mind, it had run up, hit three, went sideways for a bit, and Kevin knew if we get that whole number inflection point, now you might break, probably will break this 306, and then you're in a breakout territory. That's exactly what happened. You see how things got ugly the next few days? We don't care, right? We don't hold overnight ever. We take intraday entries that should work right away, scale out into strength, and that's how we make our money. Cash every night. And just a, just a great heads up by Kevin P. On to the next one, SE. This would have been on Tuesday. Again, you had a gap up, right? So potential gap play. And Lewis in chat gave the 60 idea. Let's go back and look at the gap up day. And this was one of our second mouse plays. So this is the opening 5-minute candle. Rips all the way to 61. And then it's kind of chugging along sideways, flagging, holding up pretty well. Lewis spotted a seller on the tape at 60. We again, it falls under our whole number inflection point trade idea. So you get through 60. Now you're probably, as well as it's holding up, I hate to use the word probably. It's a good chance you might challenge and break through the high of day after that. So now you have a new catalyst above. Whole number 60, especially whole numbers divisible by 10, as dumb as that may sound, that's actually relevant. And it has to do with human nature, I think. So there's the 60 break. Took about 10 minutes, 15 minutes to finally break the high of day, and then it was off to the races. Great call by Lewis. 60, and it went to 65, 65. Risk was probably about $1 a share. So if that's too much risk for you, it shouldn't be. You just adjust your position size. Let's look at the next one. And that would be PDSB. Now we see the symbol up here if you can't understand what I'm saying. Looks like it gapped up on Monday. Kind of sold off, but still closed above the open. So this call was by John in chat, John M.E. in chat on Tuesday. So you had the gap up, and it kind of closed, barely above the open. But the next day, Tuesday, gapped up again. And so let's look at that. Let's scroll over. All right, there's the gap up day. And then this would have been the very next day. So this is the opening candle the next day. Topped out at 742. Look at the day before. Look at Monday's high, 745. John's idea is if we break, and it's a fairly narrow range compared to the previous day, right? If we break the high of day, 741, 742-ish, probably going to take out the previous day's high at 745, and he spelled that out in chat before it triggered. Look what happens. You break it, then you break the previous day's high, and it came back to the entry here, but not before it did this. There's the entry, and it went to 824. So pretty cool call, 742 to 824. And again, we don't hold through this. I mean, we scale out into strength. if anyone says, well, it went farther later in the day, maybe they found a new way in. But if I'm taking a trade here, scaling out into strength, I'm not letting it all come down, come all the way back down, and then take out, and actually have a loss on the last little bit. So this is what we look for, those immediate moves, right? Great heads up by John M.E. on that one. It's all about day trades and entries that make sense, that should work right away. Let's look at the next one. And that is Lowe's, L-O-W. On the gap up day here, Lowe's was pretty strong anyway, and I think they had earnings this day. Gaps up, and Lewis in chat called Lowe's $215 even. Let's look at it. All right, let's go back to that gap up day. There it is. All right, on the initial opening candle, we like to let setups form, right? We don't just jump in at any random number. So it opens at 212-ish and runs to almost 216. There's the second 5-minute candle, topped out right around 215. Now you've got what we call an inside 5 setup, right? So big push, kind of a quiet action for the next 5 minutes, but beautiful, because now if it breaks this candle, this 5-minute candle's high, right at a whole number with the high of day above as a next potential catalyst, Lewis's idea through 215. Look what happens. Pretty darn quickly, to 217.60. And if you held and used the moving average for your stop, you even got a nice move all the way to 221.38. But either way, there's money to be made in that initial move. And a pretty neat heads up there by Lewis. Let's look at the next one, which would be DLO. Now this one is a little bit of a weird chart, right? Because it was super ugly. Look at the 2 days. It fell from 24.65 from here, well, 2.5 days, right? All the way down to 9.03. But coming into the first call in this one, it was really beaten up. So we had it on bounce watch, all right? So on this day, I called DLO through 1050. And let's look at it. This would have been on Thursday. So that would be this day. How did I come up with 1050? Remember, it's never random. Trying to show you what it looked like. All right, so we already have it on bounce watch. Right here, it tops out at 1017. Honestly, as a bounce play, I love this after it sold off a little bit but stayed in a fairly narrow range for the way it had been trading. I actually love this over 1017, but it did this. I mean, it happened in the blink of an eye. Would have been a Tokyo for those of you who know what a Tokyo entry is if you'd seen it and could have got it. And maybe even just through 10 with the high day. Anyway, I didn't get that, right? So, but what happens? It actually halted, by the way, I think. So then it tops out right here at 1049. I can round that up to 1050, half number. And then it flags for a little bit. So now, I love it back through 1050, right? It never did go back and take out the low of day. Now I think, there's some short covering involved today, and people chase this short. We're probably going to be in trouble if this breaks 1050 because, again, it's oversold big time. So anyway, I called it through 1050 before it triggered as always. And there's 1050. Took a while, but never came back and revisited. And, okay, so this was the high of day. From 1050, it went all the way to 1250-ish. That's a great trade, right? That's a big move. And then, well, I got another trade to highlight in, and I'll just do that now. The very next day, which was Friday, I called this through 1150. So we already know, and the reason for that one is we already know this thing's oversold and can get some really nice little upside moves for day traders like us, right? So on Friday, it tops out at 1161 and is going sideways. I put in chat when it started up here, back through 1150, because you've got the high of day and the previous day's high above to act as potential catalyst. But not just that, this thing is already proven. It moves really nicely, like shorts are in a little bit of, the late shorts in this thing are a little bit of trouble, and they cover pretty quickly. So anyway, I called this back through 1150 looking for these catalysts to fall, and they sure did, right? It went all the way to, what, 1360? Yeah, I've got the wrong number on the page, but it went to 1360. That's right. Anyway, so there was two nice trades in DLO, and that all falls to just having the right stocks to watch, right? The right stocks to watch for day trades, and I think the group in the chat room is pretty good at identifying those. Let's look at another one. This one is Baba, B-A-B-A, and it was on this day. It was called by Matt D in the chat room, and his idea was 81.50. Let's look at this day on an intraday basis. So I believe they had earnings. It gapped down and then just absolutely ripped. Topped out at 81.50, right? Pulls back. So now the push through 81.50, you got a half number inflection point on a stock where bulls are definitely winning. And because of this pullback here, you've got kind of a tighter stop now, probably $1 risk, maybe around 80.50. And it just absolutely ripped from there. From 81.50, went to 85.68. Pretty great call by Matt D. And I'm going to do one more. I'll do DWAC, DWAC, which was yesterday. I had it on Bounce Watch, right? It was on the overnight video looking for a bounce. So it opened, topped out at 20.63, pulls back. Who was it in chat? Let's see. Jacob D. And one thing I got to clarify, if anyone's confused, it was in chat. Jacob D called it a 2-day high break, which was kind of a misuse of course terminology because it wasn't a 2-day high break the way we define it. But I think most of us understood he meant through the high of day, then you've got yesterday's high as another potential catalyst, right? Stacked catalyst scenario. So the high of day break was 2064, which happened right there. And then you're looking for the next catalyst to fall, 2086, which it absolutely did. So from the 2064 idea, went all the way to 2242-ish. Again, worked quickly and well, right? Those are the entries we teach. Those are the entries we look for, stuff that should work right away. And a great heads up in chat by Jacob D. Again, and I kind of wanted to include this in the video for anyone who saw that he put 2-day high break and may have been confused by that. And I could be wrong, but I'm fairly certain this is what he meant was the high of day break because he called it when it looked about like this, right? So then you've got high of day and previous day's catalyst. Anyway, there's some highlights for the week. Hopefully I've explained the entries. We always look for things that should work right away because you've got, maybe inflection points, stacked catalysts above on the chart, and stocks that are in play. You follow that combination and you should day trade pretty well.